Hello everyone, welcome to my live stream. I think I was talking for about 5 minutes. I thought I was online, but I guess I'm not now. So I think now I actually am here. Thanks for joining me on this Sunday. It's noon here in cold Massachusetts, but staying warm here. I've been wanting to do this kind of stream for a while, and I was always kind of kicking the can down the road, and I figured let's just do it. So here I am. I looked at some of your comments on my videos over the past couple of weeks and months, and I've gathered a couple on the side here, but really I'd really like to listen to your live comments too. And it could be related to Affinity products, print on demand, graphic design. I don't know if I have the answer to everything, but whatever you ask, I'll try my best to give you something useful, hopefully. If you can actually hear this and see this, could you just say I can see and hear you, because it would be useful to help me know. I see MTM, you're in the comment stream. Thanks for watching. I appreciate all your comments on my videos. It's nice to see you here. Now I see you have this question about InDesign, and I haven't used InDesign a lot. It's been a while since I've used Adobe products in general, several years. And this direct selection tool, I'm not quite sure how it works, but I think based on the brief reading I did before the stream, it sounds it's kind of like this combination of putting things within inside another object here. So I did this little example here of a rectangle, and let me put the image outside of it here. And now we have a rectangle here. So of course this would be the clipping option here. So if I have this option, if I have this image here, I can click and drag it inside my rectangle. And essentially it acts within this area here. And I can drag the rectangle out here. Now I can move the rectangle independently with the lock children option. So this keeps the child in place. So if I move the rectangle around, you can get this kind of effect. So again, it depends on the effect you want. I should be able to expand this rectangle also, convert it to curves. And then you can create any kind of shape you want. So you can do any kind of crazy thing here. So again, I'm not exactly sure what tool you're referring to in InDesign, but I think something along these lines might be related to it. So Bill, thanks for your question there. So the iPad version, I do have an iPad. I have installed Affinity Designer on it. I haven't used it a lot. One of the things I need to figure out is how to actually record video on my iPad. So I get a lot of requests for that. So definitely that's on my list. I would like to do that at some point and get more iPad content out there, because I know you guys are definitely into that. Thanks, William. So one thing I thought I'd do is I'd answer some of your questions on some of my videos. And one thing I covered, I don't know, a couple months ago was this topic of blend ranges. And let me show you the video for that, just so you remember here. Let me go to my channel. I'll give you another demo here so you can see it. So it was this one back here, and this was kind of a more advanced concept, but I thought a lot of people watched that video and had comments on it and seemed to find it very useful. So I was going to go over a little demo here, and of course if you have other questions about other topics, we can look at that too. But let me go over blend ranges again just a little bit here. So let me open the demo file here. Bear with me, just opening my file on that topic. I have to scroll back several folders to find out where it is. Blend options. And it was this one. Now this is, I'll show it to you in Affinity Designer, but it should work in basically any program here. Let's let the resolution come in. Okay. Let me just open this. Just trying to show your comments so I can see it there. All right, so the topic of blend ranges, I made a longer video on the blend options. So for example, if I have this image here, say it's a planet over the background, so it's just two images, I can set different blend options here, the different blend modes. I can do add, multiply, and all that. The blend ranges concept is a little bit different. So let me go back to normal here. So the blend ranges option is, let me expand this. We have this gear option here. So I'll click this, the blend options. And what this is going to determine is it's really going to look at this image here, and it's going to determine what are the value ranges that I'm either going to suppress or allow. And I know one of the complicated points was the difference between this left side and the right side. So I kind of wanted to show you the difference between both of those things. So let's start with this left side first. So you have the source layer ranges here. And what this is really going to show us is basically up and down is how opaque it is. So this is 100% solid here. So we see our whole image. And left to right is kind of the confusing part, but this is left is the darkest part of our image and right is the brightest part of our image. And right now, this is just the default normal thing. So you're not really seeing any kind of effect. But what I can do is I can actually suppress the dark parts of my image. So I'll drag this down here and let me drag this up. I'll make it kind of a step function so it's obvious where things are happening. Curve is a little more confusing. I don't know why I can't click on this. There we go. I make my cursor bigger for these videos and sometimes it's a little less accurate. So you can see what I did here is basically the source layer refers to this image here that I'm selecting, and I've suppressed all the dark black of it. And you can see all the black is gone in this planet here. And I could also say reset it. I could suppress the white part here, so let me take that down. So you can see the white is gone. So if I move it around, you can it's transparent and you can see through it. And this is actually kind of useful for like special effects and things like that. If you have something with a black background and you want to just remove the black background, you could do this here. Now this image isn't going to look that great with just the black removed because the black is part of the planet image itself, but this is kind of a way you could do that. So this is how so when we say source layer, what we're referring to is the layer you actually have selected. So let me reset this here. Now the underlying composition ranges, this one is going to base it on the layer below it. And it's a little less obvious with this example. I'll show you what happens though. Let me move it over. I'll do a different example after, but this one I'll just show you what happens. So you can see I have this bright planet underneath this existing one here. So what I can do is, before I was suppressing based on this top image here. So for example, if I wanted to get rid of the black, I was turning down the black here. But let's forget about that part now. Let's say we want to suppress based on what's under our image, okay? So there's obviously a very bright part here. Let's say I want to suppress when the area below it is very bright. So what I can do is I can drag this down. And what this is still saying is in my source image here, in this planet JPEG, or rather, make it fully transparent when the layer below it is bright. Let me do a different example just because I think that would be a little bit easier here. Let's just do a straight red circle here. And I did this in the video, so I'll just do it again here to show you. Now this circle is all one color, so it's going to be a little easier to see how it works here. So what I want to do is I want to say, don't show this red circle where the layer below it is very bright. So I can do it. So when we talk about layer below it, that makes us think, okay, we're doing underlying composition ranges. So I can suppress the image here where the layer below it is bright. I can move it around. Hold shift to keep it constrained to a circle. So here you can see like this is almost pure white in here. So it's saying when it's like very bright on the right here, don't show any parts of this circle here. And this is different than if I put it over here. Let's do this one. So that one's not even having an effect just because it's not even crossing that threshold. If I did it this way, you'd see it more. But yeah, let me delete that. But really, if you kind of understand what this graph is saying here, suppress when it's bright, you kind of understand how the blend options are working there. So hopefully that clears it up a little bit. I don't know if the person who asked those questions are here today, but it'll be on YouTube for archival purposes, so perhaps I can refer them to that. So MTM, MS Word and Adobe have a many line option, but Affinity does not. So by lines, I'm not sure exactly what you mean. If you are you talking about lines of text or the straight line options? That would be interesting to if you could elaborate on that a little bit. So one other question I get a lot too is I'm kind of curious like what you guys use Affinity Designer for and kind of what topics you're interested in. I know a lot of my viewers, they are interested in print on demand and making products and things like that. I have some videos coming up on that topic actually. It'll be kind of cool. I'm doing a phone case demonstration or video these days. I'm going to be recording it this afternoon. So I'll be showing you how to design phone cases for Printify. So I'm kind of excited about that. But I do get a lot of these questions about using Canva and DPI and things like that. So I did want to give you a little bit of an explanation on that because it seems to be something the audience is interested here. So let me see, go to that topic. So let's look at Printify. I'll try not to cough into the microphone. So let's look at t-shirts on Printify. Now I know this is a subject that a lot of people are looking at these days. So what you can do is you can actually see the resolution that it wants for your image here. So for example, I can upload this rectangular image and it wants 3600 by 4200 at 300 DPI. Now, this DPI term confuses a lot of people. So DPI means dots per inch. And this is really a physical concept that exists in the real world. Our digital images don't exactly have DPI, even though DPI is thrown around all over the place. I know it's confusing, but I'll show you why it actually doesn't even matter. All we care about when we upload files to these websites is what this part here says. DPI just is referring to, well, it's how many inches we're going to print it at. Essentially, each dot it can print, it wants a pixel to match that. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to match the pixels here. So I'll just create a simple file. So let's create a simple little design, say 3600 by 4200. Where's pixels? Am I blind? Okay. 3600, 4200. And you have this box here that says DPI, and this really means nothing when you're doing pixels. It's kind of it really shouldn't even be there in this situation. The reason it should be there if we were selecting inches. So when we select inches, inches isn't really a concept for digital images. They're all pixels. But when we select inches and DPI, it's just going to multiply our inches and our DPI to give us the size in pixels. So I'll just do a quick little example of that. So if I say 10 by 10 with 300 DPI, this is going to be the same as a 3000 by 3000 pixel image. So if I say create, you can see my image. If I select pixels, it's really just 3000 by 3000. And again, it says DPI, but that doesn't mean anything. So let me cancel it again. So let's create our sample little image here. And I'll show you how it doesn't even matter. I'll prove it. 3600 by 4200. So let's just create a simple little design, My cool shirt. Give it some font. Let's center it. Give it a little star or something like that. Make it look kind of interesting. I'll give it a background color just so we know the difference between this and the white background of the shirt. All right, File, Export. And I'll just export as a PNG. Where's a good place to put it? Where's my C drive? So I'll just upload this file. And I'll upload my shirt here. And you can see it says 300 DPI here. And actually, I think what I forgot to do is, let me create it again. I forgot to actually change the lower DPI so you can see that doesn't matter. So 3600 by 4200. So this time I'll say 72 DPI. Now I used the same pixels, but I chose 72 DPI. This actually won't matter, as you'll see. So you'll see that this actually doesn't mean anything. And I'll upload the second shirt. Again, amazing design, I know, but all right, t-shirt 2. And you see it's 300 DPI, even though I chose 72 DPI when I was doing the setup here. I guess that green kind of hurts your eyes. Sorry for that. But really all these programs care about is your image size in pixels. And again, people say, I have this image in this pixel size at 72 DPI or 300 DPI. It really doesn't matter. So that's just kind of a point I like to make again. So let me close this demo here. So by the way, let me know if you guys like how you actually like to use Affinity Designer too, like what kind of projects you do for it. If it's graphic design, if it's print on demand, if it's your own, just whatever, businesses, things like that. Because I'm always curious, what people use these programs for. And there's design topics I'm interested in covering too. So it might, if I know exactly what people are kind of using these programs for, I can actually look at more artistic topics as well, such as typography, laying out designs, things like that, things of that nature, color schemes. So Amy says, I'm a newbie, so use it for fun. Cool, yeah. That's definitely a good way to start. I started using Procreate years ago on the iPad, and was just using that for fun also. So definitely fun is a good way to start learning things. I did get a question earlier from MTM about the difficulty of switching from Adobe to Affinity. And I think in general, it kind of depends on two main topics. One is kind of the difficulty in switching from any program to another thing. There's just kind of technical difficulty. But the other one that's kind of unique to Adobe or a lot of big products is this ecosystem. And it can be really challenging or even impossible to get out of it, especially if you're working with other teammates or other companies or partners that are using Photoshop files all the time and Adobe Illustrator files all the time. Affinity can open those files, but of course you're not guaranteed full fidelity. Some stuff kind of works. In general, I'll use sites like Creative Market or something, and I'll download, sometimes Photoshop templates. And I kind of know like most of it's not going to work. Usually when I download these things, I'm just trying to get out like the raw graphics of those templates, and I know I'm gonna have to do some work to get them kind of doing what I want them to do. I have noticed though that there are some mock-up files on Creative Market. They're based on Photoshop, and I've had pretty good luck with using them in Affinity. I'm gonna I have that on my to-do list. I have many things on my to-do list, but one is I do want to make a video about using Photoshop mock-ups in Affinity and seeing how they can actually work in some cases. So it's a topic I do want to go over. So Alex Henley, looking at your comment right now. When you talk about Affinity Photo, is there a way to do a gradient to a filter? I.e., I want to subject to be in focus and the background to gradually blur. It's a good question. Let me think how that would happen. So I think I saw this question recently where someone was asking, can you do a filter on the layer effects? And I don't think there was a conclusion on that. I think you need to kind of get clever with doubling up and somehow using like your second layer as masking out your second layer. I'm trying to think how to create a demo of this right now. So I guess if you had something like, let's say I had a star here, and you're saying if you did a layer effect like this, if you wanted to blur it, where's the Gaussian blur? So the question would be, could we actually do this as like a gradient where, you know, the bottom has no blur and it kind of gradually blurs as you go up? And that would be an interesting thing to do. Again, I'm thinking of the way I might try to approach that is perhaps take off the effect on this one, line them up, and then my one with the effect, if I added a mask to it, this might not be the best way to do it, but it might kind of work in some case. What if I put it on top? So my gradient, this would be white. Doesn't quite work, actually, but I understand what you're trying to get at. Maybe I'd have to copy this mask and put it on the bottom one also. And would I have to invert it? So I'd do something along those lines. I would have to look at this in more detail though, but I kind of understand what you're getting at. But in general, the FX, they don't have a nice, easy masking option like the blend rate, like the like the adjustment layers do. So if I delete this, let me do an adjustment layer. So if I did an adjustment layer on this with, say, HSL, so if I totally rotated it to something else, I can actually do a pretty easy mask on this. And I can just add the mask here. So you can see I've easily masked out the adjustment layer, but as far as I know with the FX, there's not a straightforward way of doing that yet. So yeah, Michael does educational materials and is interested in animation possibilities. Yeah. So right now, I don't know of any way to do animation. I think you could certainly use Affinity products to kind of break up graphics into kind of raw assets. But in terms of actually animating them themselves, I don't know of anything yet. It would be a cool option. I mean, I love the Affinity products. I found them very easy to use. So if they did a competitor to, what's the Adobe one? After Effects. I mean, I would love to see an After Effects competitor, you know, here. But unfortunately, right now, I don't think there is one. So Oliver, I'm reading your question. Affinity doesn't have a decent plugin system, and third-party plugins can be used. So yeah, so you're saying you don't like the plugin system. Yeah, I actually haven't used it a lot. It's something I should explore some more. That's kind of one of the areas I'm negligent in, is using extra plugins for Affinity Photo and things like that. So I think it's something I should cover perhaps, and educate myself too before I put the video out. See, Amy, masks frustrate me to no end. Yes, they're very tricky at first. So and you find you kind of overcomplicate it. Yeah, it's kind of a mindset shift, because it's a form of non-destructive editing. And when we start painting and doing all these things, everything's about using the eraser and this kind of stuff, and that's fine too. There's nothing wrong with that. But kind of as you start having assets and things like that, you want to not destroy them if you can avoid it, because a lot of times you want to reverse things or change your mind later. So masks can be kind of tricky, and it's a little trickier in Affinity Designer also, because the mask's power really comes in the pixel persona. So I'll delete this. So right here, I would really go into the pixel persona if I was going to use a raster mask and add it this way. And I think the thing that trips up a lot of people with masks is they're kind of invisible, like what's happening. So if I select a brush, let's do a more interesting brush, some type of gouache brush. And I'll make it black here. So if I paint on my mask, you can see an effect, but it's kind of like what is actually happening here. You can't really see where you're painting. And actually, if you alt-click on the mask, you can see it. but kind of by default, you don't really see it. You just kind of have to know. So I'm painting it out here. And black is basically going to hide things on the mask, and then white is going to reveal them. So I can actually paint things back in here like this, so I can start getting more of the effect. And you see I haven't permanently destroyed my image at all. But it does feel like you're kind of working blind a little bit, because when you're erasing things, you can't really see what's happening. Like you have to alt click on it to see this part here. Have a toddler to deal with. Okay, yes. Quite a challenge, I'm sure. I have a new nephew, so I don't have to take care of him. My brother does, so I'm thankful for that. I just get to drop in for the fun parts. Okay, let me close this. So yeah, masking is a difficult one. Which one do people use the most of all the programs? Is it Photo or Designer? Publisher? My sense is Publisher is probably the least of the used ones, but I think it's certainly very powerful. I've used it to make PDFs recently, and it's a great alternative to InDesign. I'm making a video right now about the text flow, which is kind of interesting. I'll actually show you a demo of that since you guys are here. I just shot this footage yesterday. I still have to edit it, but this is for the frame text tool. And let's go here. So the frame text tool is available in multiple products. The frame text tool is available in all the Affinity products, but it has some unique features in Affinity Publisher here. And one of the cool features is, so I can drag the text here. And let me go to some kind of article. I'll just grab some text from Wikipedia. So I have the moon here. I'm just going to grab this text. Couple paragraphs, copy it. Let's close this. So I can paste this text into my frame text tool here. And that was this T here, the T with the box around it. If you see the A with the box around it, that's the artistic text tool. So the really cool thing about this tool, and this only works in Affinity Publisher, this tool is available in all the Affinity programs, but this specific feature here is only in Publisher. If you see this little I here, it means that you're not seeing all the text. And that's common to everything. But this little triangle here is actually really cool, because if you click on this, you can then go and drag a new rectangle, and it will reflow your extra text into the new text frame here. And you can see actually I still have some text that's actually not being shown. So if I select this one, there's still another triangle, so I have some more extra text. Let me click. I'll drag another one here. And it's really interesting, I think, how these texts flow into each different box. And it's very dynamic. So if you change this box up here, you can see all the text is dynamically reflowing. So you can kind of change anything you want. So it's actually really cool. It's a cool little feature, and I'll be editing this video soon, so it should be out pretty soon. I'm doing an artistic one first, the artistic text tool first, and then I'll publish the frame text tool. So let's see. Pedro says uses Photo and Publisher. Oliver, Designer daily. Yeah, I use Designer almost every day. Pedro says he's doing autobiography using Photo and Publisher. Over 1,000 pages. Wow, okay. That's great. Let us know when you publish it. But yes, so the text options are much more advanced in Publisher. There's basic stuff in Designer and Photo, but Publisher is really the more advanced one. By the way, something you can also do that I like is, let me create a new document. Not sure if you guys knew about this, but it's another cool thing. You can actually make any shape a text frame. So I can actually make a star here. And I can actually say layer, convert to text frame. And I can paste my text in there. So text can take essentially any shape. And you can see here my text isn't, perhaps a star isn't the best shape here, but you can actually fit it in there and it'll work. So it's actually really interesting. Make this bigger. Could also do a circle. Say layer, convert to text frame. So that's what I did, and I'll paste it. So yeah, you can have all your text in any shape you want. what you can also do is like you can make your own arbitrary shapes also. So I have this shape here. I can say layer, convert to text frame, and paste it in. So the overflow, I'll hide the overflow so it looks a little bit better. But yeah, you can make any shape you want for the text. And that works in all the programs too. So Pedro says, Publisher is now amazing. Yes. So it needs more cross-referencing features. Yeah. Yeah, more features like Word. Yeah, so one of the things I do, I haven't done a ton of, I haven't made a ton of things with Publisher. I've made some stuff, but a lot of times I find myself kind of writing in Google Docs or a text document or Microsoft Word, and I kind of do my, thinking and writing there in my editing, and then kind of when I'm finished, I start bringing it into Publisher. I'm not sure how you work, but I prefer to kind of do the writing process outside, and then by the time I get to Publisher, I'm just kind of doing the formatting thing. So that's one of the things I do. But yeah, probably could use some more features that Word has. So there's that. So another video I shot yesterday is about the transform tools, and that's kind of, so for example, whoops. If you, let's make a shape here. I like stars just because they're they're a little easier to kind of get a reference point on as opposed to symmetrical squares. But yes, the transform tool is obviously all the kind of the basic stuff here. But there's a lot of interesting things you can do with the origin point, and that's something I want to emphasize in the next video. So the transform origin here is kind of the point that you're doing your rotations and operations around. And the really interesting thing that happens is like when you take this point and drag it out of something, that is where you can actually start moving around a different point. So I think there's definitely lots of cool kind of transform options here that can make your life a lot easier. And one of the main things also is what happens when you have multiple objects you want to transform at once. So for example, if I have a ton of stars here, whoops. So let's say I want to resize all my stars here. I'll select all of them. Now if I do this, that's not really a great way to do it. It doesn't really achieve my purpose. But what I can do actually is select this option up here, which says transform objects separately. So if I click this, I get a reference object here, and now I can kind of resize it here, and all the objects will be scaled with respect to their own origins here. So it's a good way to kind of transform things independently. So I was shooting that video yesterday, so I'm going to edit it probably tonight and have it out soon. This should be the next video I have out, the transform tool. So it sounds like a simple concept, but I think it has some interesting applications. So Pedro says writing in Publisher is easy, and it does support cross-references with auto-numbering. Okay. Oliver says, I always want to use Publisher. In the end, I do it with Designer. Yeah, Designer is my favorite of the programs. I mean, one of the things I love the most about Designer is just like the ability to put stuff out in this kind of margin area here. Like it's just the most useful thing for references and kind of little draft areas and stuff like that. And I try to do things based on vector when possible, so that's kind of the one I use. So I have to go in about 5 minutes, but definitely open to any more questions if anyone has them. And even if you want any topics for a future live stream, like any kind of demos or anything like that. So again, in terms of some upcoming videos I have, I'm going to go over the frame text tool, the artistic text tool, transform tool, print on demand topics about how to make phone cases, finishing that one up. I'll actually be ordering sample phone cases from Printify, so I'll be showing you guys some demos of that. And those are the main ones I have scripted so far, but I definitely want to do more print on demand videos and some typography ones also. How are you copying and pasting so quickly with the mouse? Oh, so you're referring to the stars here? So let me delete these. So what I was doing was holding this. I just hold Alt and drag, and that makes another one. So I'll hold Alt, drag, Alt, drag. So if I'm holding Alt, I can just drag and make new ones. I think Control works also. Yeah, whoops, yeah. Control and Alt both work for quickly copying things. So I hope that answers your question, Jared. Close this. Yeah, no problem. Does anyone use the vector fill tool? I really like that one. Like I said, I use, you can trace your own line work, or you can get line work from somewhere else, and then you can, the vector flood tool is really nice. It's kind of a combination between the, what's it called? The shape builder tool and like the maybe gradient tool kind of. It's kind of like a cross between those two things. But using that with pixel painting is a really great way to kind of control your shapes, combine raster painting and the benefits of vector. Like I said, your raster work is going to have a resolution, but the vector parts are really scalable. The line work's going to look great. So it's a cool thing. I gave I don't know if anyone saw part 2. Part 1 got a lot of views. Part 2, I give a more end-to-end demo. So if you're curious about how that works, you can see how I go from this line work to the actual finished color image here. So if you guys do like coloring books or anything, any kind of art like this, it's a pretty useful technique, I find. Love your pod videos. Very helpful for DTF prints. Yes, thanks. Yeah, so I'm going to try to do more pod videos. So that's the topic I really want to get into. So yeah. And mostly I use Printify. I used to use Printful a little bit, but Printify is kind of the one I use. Printify, of course, they themselves don't make products, but they're kind of like the interface for it. They interface with a lot of print providers to make it easier. They kind of provide a unified interface. And I've been using them for about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. So I think it's about 3 or 4 years at this point. Yeah, so and they've improved a lot over the years. I mean, they're always pretty good, but you know, they're great now. And I like a lot of products with them. I do desk mats a lot. I do area rugs. What else? Mouse pads, clocks I've done. So I have all these topics that I want to cover and show you guys how to design. Especially higher margin products than just like t-shirts and mugs. You know, t-shirts and mugs are kind of cool, but I always tell artists, like, if you want to sell your work, like, try to break out of this kind of rectangular thinking. Like, there's so much kind of more you can put your stuff on than just t-shirts and mugs, especially products that even make more money. So especially if you're a graphic designer, you know, there's so much stuff you can do. So yeah. So with that, I think blankets too. Yeah, one topic is also, like, I see this question a lot, which is resolution for large items like rugs and blankets. Some people have difficulty making designs that big. So I have some ideas on how to teach that topic. So keep an eye out for that. But with that, I think I'll sign off for the day. I want to kind of spend 30 minutes here, and we've got to 45 minutes. So thanks for all your support and your questions. Certainly you can leave more on any of my videos, and I'm gonna try to do this more regularly. Let me know kind of what the cadence you want is. Not sure if I'll do it weekly, but definitely perhaps every other week. I'll try to get on here and again, answer questions, give you some idea of what videos we have coming up. And it's, you know, it's been quite fun here. So thank you all for your support, Amy, Oliver, Sekhmet, Bill, Pedro, Emmett. If I missed anyone, sorry, MTM, of course. But thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you on the next stream. So have a good Sunday.